There is a chemical in your kitchen right now that will outlive you. It'll outlive your kids. It'll outlive their kids. Some scientists think it might outlive human civilization itself. It's in your frying pan. It's in raincoats and pizza boxes and dental floss. And here's the part that actually stops me cold. It's probably in your blood, right now, as you're watching this. We call this family of chemicals forever chemicals, because nothing in nature can fully break them down. And we made the very first one completely by accident. A young chemist opened a container he was sure was ruined. He thought he'd wasted months of work. He nearly threw the whole thing in the trash. Instead, he had just stumbled onto one of the most useful and most controversial materials ever created. Let me tell you what really happened. It's April 1938. A DuPont laboratory in New Jersey, and a 27-year-old chemist named Roy Plunkett is working on something that sounds incredibly boring. Refrigerators.
I know, stay with me, because this part matters. Back then, the chemicals used to keep your food cold were genuinely dangerous. Things like ammonia and sulfur dioxide, which leaked out of home iceboxes and actually poisoned and killed people. So DuPont has Plunkett hunting for a safer gas to replace them. To run his experiments, Plunkett makes about 100 pounds of a gas called tetrafluoroethylene, TFE for short, and stores it in small metal cylinders frozen on dry ice. Totally routine, nothing exciting. Just a guy with some canisters of gas. Now here's the morning everything changes. Plunkett and his assistant, Jack Reebok, go to use one of the cylinders. They open the valve, and nothing comes out. No gas. Empty. Which is annoying, but not strange. Cylinders leak, gas escapes, it happens. So they figure the gas is just gone. Except, here's the weird part. When they weigh the cylinder, it's still exactly as heavy as when they filled it. Sit with that for a second. The gas won't come out, but it's clearly still in there. The weight hasn't changed at all. Something inside that canister is playing by rules that don't make any sense. Now most people, honestly including most chemists, would just shrug, grab another cylinder and move on. And Plunkett's own first reaction was pure disappointment. He literally thought, well, now we have to start all over. But he didn't move on. And this right here is the whole story. Instead of tossing the broken cylinder, he got curious. He decided to cut the thing open and actually look inside. So they sawed the cylinder in half. And inside, instead of gas, there's a white waxy powder coating the walls. The gas hadn't leaked out. It had transformed. The molecules had spontaneously linked themselves together into something brand new. A solid nobody on Earth had ever seen before. And when Plunkett started testing this strange white powder, he realized it wasn't just new. It was almost unbelievable. Nothing stuck to it. Nothing. It was the slipperiest material ever discovered. Acids couldn't corrode it. Heat barely touched it. It shrugged off chemicals that would eat through almost anything else. Chemically, it was one of the most bulletproof substances humans had ever made. And here's what I love about him. Plunkett later said his mind was prepared by training to recognize novelty. In other words, luck handed him a broken cylinder, but it took a curious, well-trained mind to see a discovery instead of a mistake. Chance opened the door. He was the one who walked through it. Objective: build a better refrigerator. Result: accidentally invent the slipperiest solid on Earth. He named it polytetrafluoroethylene. Thankfully, somebody shortened that. You know it as Teflon. But here's what surprised me when I dug into this story. Teflon didn't go straight into your kitchen. Not even close. At first, nobody knew what to do with it. It was strange, and it was expensive. Far too expensive to sell to ordinary people. For years, it just sat around DuPont as a laboratory curiosity. And then it found its first real job. And it is not the one you'd guess. Its first mission was war. This is the early 1940s, and the United States is secretly racing to build the atomic bomb, the Manhattan Project. And they hit a brutal problem.
They're working with some of the most corrosive, aggressive chemicals on Earth, stuff that eats through normal metal seals and gaskets like they're made of paper. They need a material that literally nothing can destroy. And there's exactly one that fits. Teflon. So the very first big use of the stuff in your non-stick pan was sealing the equipment that helped build the atomic bomb. It was considered so valuable to the war effort that the whole thing was basically kept secret. Let that sink in for a second. The material you fry your morning eggs on got its start inside one of the most classified projects in human history. So how did it get from a nuclear facility to your kitchen? That part wasn't DuPont and it wasn't Plunkett. It was a Frenchman. An engineer named Marc Gregoire heard you could use Teflon to stop things from sticking. He was a keen fisherman, so first he coated his fishing gear with it. Then, the story goes, his wife gave him a challenge. If it's so slippery, why not put it on my cooking pans? He did. And that was it. The non-stick pan was born, and it exploded across the entire world. By the 1960s, Teflon was everywhere. Pans, spacesuits, artificial heart valves, wiring, machinery. Plunkett's ruined experiment had become one of the most useful materials of the 20th century. And for a while, that's where the story ended. A happy accident. A miracle material. But there's a second half. And it's darker. Because to make and to coat Teflon, companies used other chemicals from that same fluorine family. The ones we now call PFAS. Forever chemicals. And it turned out, these chemicals don't break down. Not in the environment, not in the soil, not in us. To be fair, the non-stick coating itself is famously stable. That's the whole point of it. The real trouble was the chemicals used to manufacture it, and others in the same family. For decades, they seeped into the water supplies near manufacturing plants. And slowly, they spread, further than anyone imagined. Today, PFAS have been found in rainwater, in remote oceans, on the peaks of mountains, and in the blood of almost every human being alive. Including, almost certainly, yours. It has led to some of the largest environmental lawsuits in history. Billions of dollars in settlements over contaminated water and human health. And here's the thing I keep coming back to. Roy Plunkett wasn't a villain. He was a curious young chemist who refused to throw away a ruined experiment. He gave the world a genuine miracle. And he also, without ever knowing it, helped open the door to one of the most stubborn pollution problems we have ever faced. That's the uncomfortable truth about accidents. They don't come with instructions. They don't tell you whether they're a gift or a warning. And sometimes, they turn out to be both. So the next time you crack an egg into a non-stick pan and watch it slide around like magic, remember, that magic came from a frozen canister that looked completely empty. From a young man who was certain he had failed. From a single decision to look inside instead of throwing it away. He didn't know he was creating a miracle. He didn't know he was creating a problem that would outlast us all. He just refused to ignore something strange. The world wasn't built perfectly. Some of its greatest inventions were simply accidentally created.